Every week, we bring you the voices that make Kansas City what it is. As a 501c3 nonprofit, this work has been made possible thanks to the generosity of local foundations. But now, we need your help. If you've been moved by a story you've heard here, would you consider supporting us this giving season with a tax-deductible donation? As a thank you for every gift of $100 or more, we'll send you a supporter t-shirt and a mug so you can represent the show in style. Most importantly, you'll become a vital part of this legacy project, making the next 100 stories possible. Visit somethingaboutKC.org to learn more.
There's Just Something About Kansas City is brought to you by the generosity of our friends with the Haverty family, the Sherman family, the Cockrell family, and Don and Mary Doherty. Thank you.
Hey folks, welcome once again to another episode of There's Just Something About Kansas City. Don't forget to like, listen, and subscribe. And also don't forget that we are on YouTube. And what an episode we have for you today. The one and only Danny O'Neill, Roasterie Coffee, the Bean Baron, everything else he's been. And Danny, it's just so great to be able to sit down, talk to you about all this and how this all came about, coming from little Denison, Iowa, to here in Kansas City and all the great things you've done.
Oh, well, thanks, Frank. It's great to be here. I was just talking to my son at college, and he was talking about in 10 or 12 years, I want to do this and this. And I said, you have no idea the twists and turns that are going to come about. And I said, it's fascinating, and I can't wait. So I said, who knows where you'll end up, you know? Anyway, I was just thinking about that when you said that about Denison, because when I was a junior, going into my senior year, we would get one foreign exchange student each year. And that particular year was Joanne from Tasmania, from Australia. And pretty soon we started dating, and then we would go around.
You were dating a foreign exchange student?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So,
here we go. Mr. Wonderful. Yeah. I'll take her out. It'll be okay. I'll do it.
I'll throw myself on the sword. But we would go around to, little small town. I think of like Walter Mitty's, even as I'm saying this, or Willie Loman. But we'd go around to these little places like Key Club or Kiwanis Club, Rotary Club, and she would get all this attention, and everybody was just focused on her, and as you know, I'm in the middle of 10 kids, and we used to say we just about had to douse ourselves with gasoline to get anybody to look at us, And I swear I was gone to college for 2 months before my mom even knew I was gone. And so when she was getting all this attention, I was kind of like, well, I want that. I want that, And so I started filling out. This is all right back to what you said, Frank. Filling out the papers, the forms to apply to be a foreign exchange student. And
because you wanted it, because being in the middle, and let everybody know, 10 kids now, okay, and you're in the middle.
Well,
so it's fighting, it's stabbing your brother or sister with a fork.
So
you can get your
yes.
piece of chicken out
You
there.
have been there. You have been there. Everything, right? And I love hand-me-downs. I love leftovers.
No. You convinced yourself you loved all those things. Right?
Well, we didn't have a choice, right?
Right. Exactly.
You're right. That's very prescient of you. But anyway, so then about October, November of my senior year, I have to go to Sac City, which is about 40 minutes away, and I have to take my mom to one of these screenings. And so my mom was super old school, didn't know anything about it. So she was sitting there, and this woman, and she had her purse sitting there like this, pure small town farmer, And this woman goes, "Oh my gosh, so you must be so excited. How's it going to feel to have Danny become a foreign exchange student?" And she goes, "This is the first I've heard about it." And so anyway, it was a quiet ride back home in my 65 Chevy. And they said, well, if you're chosen, you'll know by Christmas. And then otherwise you probably, didn't make the cut. So Christmas came in wet. I'm just having the time of my life partying, senior year.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second week of January, I got this short letter, and it said, "You've been chosen. Here's your family. you're going to Costa Rica on February 14th. So we literally didn't have a suitcase in our family. I mean, we never went anywhere. And
you couldn't fit all 10 kids
that's right.
in one vehicle.
Take a bus, you know. But we didn't, you know, I didn't have a passport, didn't have anything. And my poor mom scrambled. And so 3 weeks later, I'm, you know, my dad takes me to Des Moines. Haven't ever been on a jet before.
Wow.
And I'm just holding back from crying, you know. It's like 10 below. He puts me on his plane and we make a stop or two and we end up in Miami. And I'm like, what the hell country is this? And who the hell are these people? Oh my God. And, so anyway, that was how we got here because, you know, growing up we detasseled corn and walked beans, chopped thistles, fixed fence, baled hay, and in Costa Rica, my best friends were going coffee picking. Some went to bananas, some did pineapple, and my best friends were going coffee picking. So I went with them, and it felt just like
just random. You decided
totally random.
I'm going there. You could have been the pineapple king or the banana king, besides the bean baron.
But that's what I was trying to tell my son. You just never know. You know, if you open that door, I almost think of like Dr. Zhivago when he's on the train car, on the streetcar, you know, and there's Julie Christie out there. You never know how many of those, you know, the ones that happened, but how many times you passed one way and went the other, and you don't know who was on that other side of the door.
Taking one fork or the other in the road of your life.
It's like it reminds me of a movie, but you just never know. And so I didn't drink coffee, not that it mattered. I loved it, you know. We're up in the mountain and it was sunny and fun. And then I came back, and 3 weeks after I came back, I started at Iowa State. And
did you think did you have this? You really didn't have a plan in mind, no,
None.
to become the bean baron, okay?
No, I was,
and do coffee at all. You're going to school for business, right? For all practical purposes.
Well, no, I was. I started in poli-sci.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And then our first finals, stayed up all night. I can't imagine. I did, you know, in grad school, I never stayed up one single time, but I did a lot as undergrad because I put everything off, you know, I cram. And I drank, the first finals, I drank a whole pot of coffee. And I couldn't sit still, I couldn't study, I couldn't sleep, but I loved that feeling, you know, I loved that feeling. And that was a long time ago, and I swear to God, as God is my witness, I have drank a mountain of coffee every single day since, every day. And I just got into it. And in the early 80s, we started drinking whole bean coffee, like you'd see everywhere today. Mm-hmm. But not very many people did. But we would, you know, we'd get it and grind it ourselves and whatnot. But then, small town Iowa.
Right. So,
love James Bond.
Of course.
I'm a senior in college now, it's this 82, 83. Interest rates were like 16, 17%. You know, unemployment was about that high. It was just really gnarly time. And I signed up for every single interview my entire college career that I could, and I had two. And one of them, is Armstrong Floors from Pittsburgh? They're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, they are. I don't think they're from Pittsburgh, though.
But I remember being from Pennsylvania. I interviewed with them and the CIA. So the CIA comes to town, and I signed up right away. I'm like, oh my God, I love James Bond.
Yeah,
I love, my God.
I want an Aston Martin, and I want the whole routine. Right?
But, it's just so naive. And we are, all the jokes about us being so naive from Iowa, every one of them are true, you know. So I don't think, it doesn't dawn on me that there aren't any 6'8" spies running around, you know, but that's all I can think about. So I signed up, and they start doing research on me. They take me to Langley, and they come back.
Wow,
and then
they were interested.
They go to my high school. I started hearing from teachers and coach that they talked to. And it was embarrassing at the time, but now I can easily laugh at myself, you know. But then that fall, I got a short note about this long that says you're not being offered unemployment or employment. And so then
It's back to Armstrong Force.
well, they didn't want me either. So I went to Omaha and I started in sales, and that was in '83. And I basically have just pretty much one way or another, that's what I've done my whole life.
Right. You spent some time Rockhurst though too, right?
Yeah, when I moved here, I transferred here in '91, and then went to Rockhurst. Moved in March, and then started in Rockhurst in the fall.
Right.
And then it's kind of interesting. Excuse me. Loved it, but I went to when I graduated in '93. The economy was really gnarly then as well. But then, you look back now, there's a lot of studies on this. The entrepreneurs and new companies started are typically after somebody loses their job, after when the economy is horrible. And it kind of makes sense. If you have all these easy opportunities, you're probably going to be, want to take one of them.
Right.
But if you don't have a choice and the economy is bad, kind of what the hell, So, but I had gone to Russia a couple of times in '91 and '92, and that was only important because later I was interviewing for a job up in Seattle, and in this little boutique hotel I was staying at had a magazine in Seattle, and there was a guy in there that had a deal, a coffee roasting operation in Costa Rica and one in Russia. And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to go to work for him. There's no doubt in my mind. So I chase him, and he's out in Montana, R.C. Beale, super cool, neat guy. And that summer then I went out and spent a week with him. But he had a really great business going, and he didn't want somebody come in and shaking everything up.
Right. Yeah, trying to expand and doing all these
I
other things.
ready for, to kill him. So I came back here, excuse me, and then I thought, God, I want to start a coffee business. And everybody just,
They must have thought you were insane.
They did. But I had been, I'd been in the whole bean coffee since, '83, '82. And I was headquartered when I worked for Weyerhaeuser up in Seattle, So we had Starbucks in our cafeteria back when Starbucks was really good.
Just Starbucks,
mid-'80s.
just small.
Very small. 13 stores maybe. And anyway, everybody's response scared me. They were like, "Yep, make a living after that." Oh yeah, coffee. And in '93, there were like 2 coffee shops in Kansas City, And then I thought, oh no, they're right. So I started signing up for United Nations Volunteer Program and Peace Corps, because I thought, if I don't make it, I don't want everybody saying, I knew you would make it, I knew you would make it. I thought, I'll just be a coward and leave the country and go volunteer in another country.
Find me
and
now.
Nobody will know. And I won't have to face that, But then, so that was, August, September, and I had my first roaster. I went out in Corvallis, Oregon, and spent a week with the guy that made these roasters. And
so you decide to get in it.
Yeah.
And you have a home in Brookside, right?
Yeah.
At that point, and you just decide, okay, I'm gonna put together all my life savings, which wasn't much at the time, right?
No.
Under $20,000.
Yep.
To start your own business, and the first thing you do is go to Corvallis, Oregon, and buy a giant roaster, which wouldn't even fit in the house, right?
Right. I had that. Again, a typical entrepreneur. Every entrepreneur you talk to, they can just rattle off all the stupid things they did in a hurry because that would have taken me like a second to measure the door frame, but it was too big a hurry. It's like, so I had to get that sawed in half and get it in the basement. And
the sawing in half's one thing. Putting it back together so it works is something totally different to me.
Oh my God.
That would have scared me to death.
But we would, somebody was just took a job here in Kansas City a year ago, and they're working in a major hospital. And I said, I already know the answer to this, but would you have taken the job a year ago if you would have known what kind of shape it was in? Oh yeah, have you talked to Dan Hesse? You got to talk to Dan.
Yes, no, yeah, we have him on our list too, yeah.
Because I asked him one time about Sprint, and he goes,
Yes,
"Oh heavens,
I know.
no!" And then Randy from the zoo, he came from Henry Doorly Zoo, and
in Omaha.
I asked him if he knew what kind of shape the zoo was in, would he have taken? He goes, "Oh heavens, no, heavens, no."
He's done a great job though.
Yeah. Oh my God, he
they've
did
done
a
a great job.
great job. So, but nobody knows how hard it is, and I think probably having kids is the same thing. It's similar. I always think about that. Nobody can fully prepare you. You just got to do it and live it, and make the best plan that you can. But inevitably, if you think back when you first had kids, it's like, oh my God, nobody told us about this shit. Oh my God, and 2 hours? My wife came in, I sleep like a rock. And my wife
the
came,
coffee.
Yeah, totally right. She came in one time and she said, I got to do this. I can't. I think Terry had diarrhea or throwing up all or something. So he is probably 6 or 7 months old. She said, just hang on to him while I change the bed, the bedding and stuff. So I was there, and then she did her thing, and she came back in, and I'm laying like this out. Terry's laying down on the bed. I couldn't stay awake for like 2 minutes, But we went through all that kind of stuff, having kids like everybody else does, and that's just how it is starting a company, And I think probably like a career like yours, if you think back, what they had you do when you first started, and
Oh yes,
right,
I remember very well.
all the jokes and everything else, and but my gosh, it was just something. It was the way it started. First of all, I donated, like Kansas City has this great philanthropic community, right? So you donate something, and then all the committees hear about it, and so everybody's calling you. So the first, several weeks, if not months, almost all of our coffee was donated because I didn't have any customers,
Right.
And, but again, this is 93, so I had my phone, the landline, forwarded to a pager. And so I would be out.
You're in Brookside still. You're in your home.
Yeah.
You're in the basement, right?
I was out driving around,
Right.
calling, just knocking on doors. I hadn't lived here very long, and I probably didn't know 30 people in Kansas City. And just knocking on doors like crazy. And so the pager would go off if somebody were to call, which they didn't very much. So I would drive to a payphone. I knew where every payphone was in Kansas City. And I would retrieve the message, then call the person back. And then if they ordered, God forbid, I ran to Brookside as fast as I can, went down the basement, roasted their coffee, and took it to them. The first time that happened, it was the espresso cart in KU Med.
Yeah.
Pam Murphy was her name. She had one there and in St. Luke's. And so she ordered 10 pounds of coffee, and I'm driving down State Line Road, just shaking. Go to the basement. Yep, exactly. It was 10 pounds. It was like, oh my God. So I roasted it, packed it, and went back maybe an hour and a half later. And she goes, well, what's that? And I said, it's your coffee. And she goes, where'd you get it? And I said, in my basement. And, and I'm like, what's up? I said, she goes, it's still warm. I said, yeah. And I said, I just roasted it. And I said, what's the deal? Don't you want it? She goes, no, I never thought about it before that I never thought about where it came from. I ordered it, and 2 or 3 weeks later, the coffee would show up, and I never ever, but you could just smell it. So I went through the front door with every delivery I had,
absolutely,
and you could just smell the coffee. Of course you could, but you could. Nobody else was doing that,
Right.
So.
You talk about humble beginnings. I mean that's incredible. You're making cold calls, and people are looking at you. What? You're selling what? No, I get my coffee from wherever they got it from at that time. And then all of a sudden, you're headed to your basement all the time. You got the corrugated tin right all around the basement with the blue tarp and the fluorescent lights, and you are making coffee and making sales at the same time, not knowing if how much further your $17,000 is
That's
going
exactly
to go.
right.
Right?
It was 17.
You were probably broke at that point, right?
I was. The roaster cost 12. The logo was 2,500. All the stuff for the basement was 300. So I basically had I had almost no money. I had like maybe a couple $100.
Wow.
And you know, not long ago, the kids, my main concern with our kids were that they had a strong work ethic, and they
Just like your parents
both
gave
worked.
to you guys.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
That for me, I mean, aside from morals and character, that is absolutely most. Because if you have a work ethic, no matter what your station in life or what agency you have, you're gonna make it. And if you don't, it doesn't matter how intellectually sophisticated you are, what agency or what your station is, because you won't make it, because no one's going to come and take care of you, you know. So around December, January, again, just total naive, and it was now it was a long time ago, right? So this was 1993. I figured this out. My house payment at the time is $850. And I have almost like no money left, just almost none. So I called up the credit union where I had my mortgage, happened to be in LA. And I said, kind of told a little fib. I said, I lost my job, but I'm starting a company. And but if I keep making my house payment, I'm not going to have any money to start my company. Right. And this woman is real nice, but she's real incredulous. She's like, well, you can't not make your house payment. And I said, well, I could not make my house payment. And she said, well, you'd lose your house. Just real matter-of-factly. And I said, well, this is stupid because I'm not going to have any money. And she goes, well, what are you thinking? I said, well, just maybe not make my house payment for a couple of months, 3 months. And she goes, well, you can't just do that. We'd have to set it up, and then you have to make payment and a half until you get caught up. And I said, okay. So she set it up until March. But in March of 1994, there was a big earthquake in LA.
Los Angeles, that's right.
And where that office was, where my mortgage was sitting, was in that rubble. So March came and went. April came and went. May comes, and we get a phone call. And Mary was helping us at the time, and she said, you need to call so-and-so. And so I called, and I still remember I'm sitting there ready to wax on, and she's just, this is a Rottweiler now, not that nice person I had.
Not,
she's like,
she's not the golden retriever.
No, not the golden.
She's a pit bull.
So she said, it is Wednesday, and on Friday, if we don't have that, you will lose your house. And that's how close I came.
Wow, 2 days.
Yep. But kind of what we were talking about before, had I not called and just been so
honest,
such an idiot and naive,
and honest,
I would never, and had there not been that earthquake, we never would have made it.
Do you ever look at it and just go, thanks? I mean,
I do.
I think you have to. It's just the coincidence of all this happening to end up where you ended up in life.
Unbelievable.
And we talked about that, how you take this road or that road.
And then we were, and I'm going to tell two of my mentors. So on that committee that everybody finds out about if you have a product to sell or to give away, for the silent auctions and all these different things, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I am schlepping coffee on, if you remember back in New Year's Eve, for 20 or 30 years, one of the biggest galas was the Symphony Gala down at the Midland.
That's right.
It was back when there were only like 5 or 6 really big ones in Kansas City,
Now there's 5 or 6 a week.
Oh my gosh, they so overdid it. But I was schlepping coffee, and somebody comes up to me and he goes, I'll have a cup. And I said, decaf, that's your 3rd cup. And he looks at me like this little Woody Allen character, and he goes, well, I want to talk to you. And he handed me his card. And I looked at it, it was Barnett Hellsberg, and I didn't know him from Adam, you know. And I said, well, you know what? You can talk to me anytime you want about anything you want. So it took about 6 months, and he had just sold to Warren Buffett, and he wanted to start a mentoring program. And he always said that Kaufman helped him so much, and he always went back to
Ewing Kaufman, the owner of the world.
Went back
and
to
Marion Labs.
Yep. Went back to Ewing and said, hey, you helped me so much. He goes, just, you'll help other people. I know that you just help other people. So that was the inspiration from Barnett. And so I still tease Barnett. I had coffee with him a couple of months ago, and I still tease him about this because I said, when you called me, I think you had in mind to be my mentor. I was his first victim. But after I vomited all my stuff on you, I said, you threw Henry under the bus. So Henry Block became my mentor. And so from early 96 until he passed away, we met regularly. It's almost like that book, Tuesdays with Maury.
Maury, yeah.
And it would dawn on me, you know, Henry would ask a question, I would ask it, I'd answer it real quickly. And then I'd think, well, that was simple. And then about a day or a week or a month later, I'd go, oh, come on. Just then I'd figure out what Henry meant. But so insightful and simple and just zeroed in. But to your point, and I never, ever thought anything but about being lucky. Even from a small town with no money, we had the world by the butt. We didn't know any better. We had, you know, football and girls and motorcycles, and we always had the farm to work on and had, you know, money to make and paper routes. And I always felt that we were lucky. And then Barnett and Henry nonstop would talk about how lucky they were and how lucky they were.
Yeah, right.
And Henry was just like me going up and down Main Street, or I was just like him, I should say. You know, he had $50 a month GI Bill, and he was trying to do a book. You know, he didn't know anything about bookkeeping or accounting or anything else, and he had just seen something. So he got busy enough. I don't know if you knew that story. He got busy enough, so he put an ad in the paper, and he wanted help, and his mom saw it, and his mom said, "Well, Henry, you know who you should hire is your brother Richard." And that's how he hired, and that became the H&R Block.
Yes.
And you know, again, this has nothing to do with this, but fast forward, I just loved hearing his stories. He was in the military. He signed up to be a pilot. He had, you know, gone to Michigan, and maybe he was still at Michigan, but he signed up to be a pilot. Well, his mom finds out. She reads an article about how many pilots are dying. She calls the general and gives the general an earful, and the general moved him to navigator. Isn't that something? Can you imagine the world at that time?
Yeah, that your mom could think she's going to call. I'm
And
going to
she
call
did.
the Brigadier General up at that 5-star. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind.
Of course, Henry, everybody's dream was to be a pilot, not a navigator, you know, but Henry just, you know, buckled down and became a navigator, did 31 or 33 missions.
Yeah, he
you know?
did, yeah. He's a hero, that's for sure. But you just think about the names you just said in this city, you know, with H&R Block and the two
And
blocks.
what other
and
city can you
Barnett
imagine?
Hellsberg with Hellsberg, you know, jewelry.
And hearing all about Warren Buffett's stories.
Yes.
You know? Can you imagine in New York or Dallas, or not to take anything away from those cities, you would never have that opportunity, you know?
They would just go, no.
There was a writer here in town for the Star, Lou Jane Temple, and she found out about me in the basement, and so did an interview with me in January of '94, and she goes, "You should call Fred Ball. He loves entrepreneurs." I thought,
yeah.
I can't call Fred Ball. Oh no, call him. So I call Fred. He calls me back, leaves me a voicemail, and then calls me back again before I can call him back and said, well, we're in the middle of looking at a bunch of food barns that they're selling, and so really busy right now, but we would love to talk to you. And so I'm going to have a guy by the name of Dave Grzelski, who worked for him for 100 years. He'll call you, and we'd like to meet you. And I'm like, ah! So Dave calls, and he had seen the article that Lou Jane wrote, and there's a picture of me, looked like a total dork, sit in the basement with all the tin and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and Dave has got me on the phone. He goes, looks like you're in the garage or something. And I'm like, oh my God, the emperor has no clothes. Here I am, I've been found out. He goes, come on in. And then, again, to such a small town, I go in and they put me in 3 hen houses, or 2 hen houses and a price chopper. And we had gotten in Miners, Sunfresh, which was a massive. Dennis Miner put us in there, I think January 20th of '94, if I remember. And that was an absolute page turner. Had I not gotten in there, we probably would have run out of money.
Yeah. So you have to get out of the basement because you need bigger space.
We
you need to roast
cubed
more.
it out.
Yeah, coffee, right?
Yeah, in this old prairie style house in Brookside, we just filled all 3 floors. Just crazy. People would come in. Marcel from Andres was one of the first people came down the basement, and people would.
Who
and
am I buying coffee from?
And he drug a guy from Switzerland with him too, and people would even like folks like yourself would go, oh my God, now this is cool, or the suits would go, this is really weird.
Yeah, right.
But all the Lon Lanes of the world, the Jaspers, all the people like that loved it. There was the raw. It was It was just the real deal.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so then we kind of cubed out the basement. And then July 10th of '94, we moved to 1519 Cherry.
Right.
Little 2,000 feet, 1,000 feet on the first floor and 1,000 feet in the basement. And we're like, oh my God. It was just, we thought it was like the Taj Mahal, how could we ever fill this place up? And I told customers, if you need to put your espresso card or anything in here, we got plenty of room. And then, and that lasted 18 months. And then we moved to...
That didn't last long.
2601 Madison.
Right.
And we were there for 10 years. And then we moved to this factory in '05.
Yeah.
And then, then it was crazy.
Yeah. So your first touch of coffee ever was Costa Rica, okay, which obviously
picking
makes
it.
Yeah, right, picking it. But that was your first contact
Yep.
with coffee, and then you went off and did your thing, and all of a sudden now you're in the coffee business. How did you start? Where did you get your original beans from? Where did you get your original coffee from?
Well, again,
just to start.
Totally, just because it was this absolutely blind happenstance luck. There was a coffee broker here in Kansas City at the time. They sold buku coffee, but they had a small amount of what we would call specialty coffee, really great coffee. And but that was the first one. And then there was they had a place in the old market, I think, or call it the old market, the River Market.
River Market, yeah.
Yeah. And then that April of that first year of '94, there was a big coffee convention, specialty coffee convention in Houston. And I went down to that and met a bunch of people from Costa Rica in the business and met a bunch of brokers. And then the main broker that we dealt with I met that April of '94, John Cassette, stayed with us all the way through us selling the company 27 years later.
Wow.
And then same with the Monin syrups that we used, and the grinders, and the folks from Bunn. I met that weekend, and we probably dealt with 6 or 8 different companies for 27 years.
Same companies,
Yeah.
yeah. And you didn't always, the really interesting part and the business part for me is you didn't always buy the cheapest bean. You bought the best bean
Yeah.
at a fair price
Yep.
because you wanted to make sure I guess you would call them farmers, the coffee makers, okay, around the world, and I know you deal with all kinds of countries now through your brokers, that you wanted to make sure that they would continue to be able to grow, to have a good life for themselves, and not just try to buy the cheapest coffee there was.
Totally,
right?
totally got that from my dad and all the farmers. But we just had proper remuneration to the farmers, And I'll tell you, I just got goosebumps remembering something. Ewing Kaufman tells a story that somebody, one of his top folks came back and said, "Oh my God, I just negotiated this price. You are not going to believe it, what we won and how much we won." And Ewing Kaufman asked him, can that other guy, can he make a dime? And this guy goes, "Oh, I don't know how." And Ewing Kaufman made him go back and renegotiate the price. He goes, "How are we going to be successful if our partners aren't successful?" Right. So years later, I'm sitting in the front row of the Royals game with Mike Herman.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "Mike, there's this story I used to tell." And I said, "I never knew if it was true or not." But I said, I tell him the story. He goes,
"I know what's coming."
"Not only is it true, but that was me."
Yeah, that's exactly
and
right.
I just have goosebumps all over my body right now. I said, "Oh my God, Mike, I want to cry." And he goes, "I went and did it." And I think it was some place in upstate New York, if I remember right. But he goes, "That was him. That's how he did business." And later I'm writing, I used to write these kind of quarterly newsletters to all of our customers. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, can I use that story? I won't tell him it was you." He goes, "You can use the story and you can tell him it was me."
Yeah.
But oh my God, and just think about that as a platform or as an example. There's Ewing Kaufman, and of course I'm doing Fast Track at the Kaufman Foundation, and just have all these incredible lessons. And you know what? I'm just revolted and nauseous for the ugliness in our culture right now. And I'm thinking of back in the 80s when it was like, remember Gordon Gekko, "Greed is Good," yeah. Michael Douglas, that movie, but stomping on the fingers of,
everybody on the way up.
Yeah, but not everybody did. But that was just manifest through all sorts of our different aspects of our culture. And I hated it, but I thought, I didn't know jack about business and still don't really feel like I know very much about business. I was a poli-sci guy, that's what I was going to do. But I just lucky enough met some folks from the Kaufman Foundation. They wanted me to come into Fast Track, and then I meet Barnett, and then all this Ewing Kaufman. I'm surrounded by this just cocoon of Ewing Kaufman for 15 years, but I guess my point is I could have just not met them and gone this way and had Greed is Good and all that, because there were there's still a bunch everywhere. I mean, we have fewer of those folks, I think, in Kansas City, but there were still enough of them around that,
I'm not sure you would have, just because of your background with your mom and dad. I just don't think you would have been the Greed is Good thing, okay? Because I doubt very much whether they were.
Right.
I just think having 10 kids and pushing them all out in the world and making sure they're making their own way and the whole thing and their work ethic, I don't think that was going to be a situation for you.
Yeah.
So.
We were talking last night at this kind of a couples meeting at a church, in our church in Brookside, and people went around and talked about who made an impact in your life, who you set an example, and I was talking about, besides my parents, or my football coach, and somebody said, "Oh, that's so nice, and that you had a nice coach, that." And I said, "Oh my God, he wasn't nice. He grabbed us by the face mask and
twist you into the ground with the face mask." Yeah.
Oh my God, totally. And I said, "Oh my God, we loved him and wouldn't have it any other way." Do you remember that show in the '80s, Paper Chase?
Oh yeah.
Remember? I said he was the kind you wanted to earn his respect. It was so important. And I
you
said,
wanted him to say one kind word to you.
Yeah,
and you'd have been 4 years. That's it.
I don't think we ever got it, but that was the last time he yelled at me was 1977. But I still keep in contact. I haven't talked to him this week, but I still keep in contact with him and send him stuff all the time. But I told this lady said that, and I said, "Well, the number one reason coaches quit, and she goes, "Money?" I said, "No, parents." Parents.
Worst thing about coaching.
Amen.
Yep.
And I said, there wasn't a person, a parent that ever said anything to that coach.
Yeah,
and,
you bet.
And we have never, ever said anything to our coaches, you know. We had last year, a year before, we had a friend that they moved over here from London, and he goes, you know, I want to say something that, you know, that I won't say his name, but so-and-so's not getting the playing time, and he's good. I said, you don't do that here.
No.
I said, no, not in this culture. No one says anything to the coach.
No
I
one,
said,
yeah, absolutely.
The coach has no dog in the hunt. They're playing the people that they should be playing. And,
Well, they're playing people. I always told my kids this too. And when I played, it was the same thing. I'd go home and I don't know if we get to play this week or what the deal is. And my dad would always go, "Coach is with you every day at practice. You think he's going to put somebody in that's not as good as you, okay? Because
Who
it's
knows you
his job.
better,
He's going to
yeah.
lose his job if he doesn't.
Yeah.
So he's going to play the right guys. He's going to play. So
Yeah.
if they're not playing, there's a reason they're not
Yeah.
playing. So just like in business, if they're in business, there's a reason they're not making it. There is a reason they're not making it.
Amen.
Yeah.
We used to, we always called the offensive linemen lobsters because they would hold, you know.
Yeah.
And
We called
so-
them the big uglies. So,
Same thing. So one particular game, I think I was a junior. I was like talking to the ref. No, he's holding me. So I went to the sidelines and Coach Van Heck grabbed me by the face mask and yanked me in. He goes, "If someone's going to say something to the coach, it'll be me." And he threw me like that. And I got to tell you, our kids, my wife, I have never, ever said anything to the coach.
yeah, ever.
Ever.
Me either.
To the
Never did.
referee, I mean. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. To the referee.
Or to the coach. Yeah, either
God
one.
knows for the coach,
Yeah,
but
right.
I just think that is so pathetic.
Tough
Anyway.
job.
Oh my
It's a
God.
tough job. And so well, talk to me about the athletic career. Tell me a little bit about, you look like you should have been playing center on the basketball team, okay?
If I could run and dribble, there was a cusp at time, right, where you could just be a tall dork and not have to dribble.
Just did throw it in and then you throw
But
it
I
up to the
missed
basket,
that.
right?
I missed it. I was born too late. So I had my little brothers and sisters. I think 4 of them played college basketball. But
Well, you're in Iowa too, which is,
Yeah.
for girls too.
yeah,
It's
KK played at
huge.
Iowa State.
Huge, yes, that's huge.
So and then but I did football, and then I loved my wrestling coach too. And so when I was a senior, I went out for, or junior, I went out for wrestling mainly just to stay in shape. But there again, if this didn't happen, one of my best friends, he weighed like probably 210, he'd go down to 185. I could weigh with my gym bag, and I weighed 172. And he got mono, so I had to wrestle 185.
Right.
Oh my God.
At least you could eat.
All I wanted. I did everything I could to gain weight for years. And
Yeah.
But when I came back from Costa Rica, I was 6'8", 185.
Oh, wow.
Then I think, oh my God, I want to do something. So I was at Iowa State, so I walked on at Iowa State, and again at 6'8", 185.
Yeah, right.
They just had to laugh, right?
You're not going to be Charles Barkley, shoving your butt out against the guy in front of you,
Oh, my
moving him out of the
God.
way, right?
But I started lifting weights like crazy,
Yeah.
and then and then I think I was 6th or 7th team, and I worked my way up to 3rd team, and I think I played at like 237, 238, and that's when we had Dwayne Crutchfield. I don't know,
Oh, yeah, I
remember
remember
him.
that name, yes.
He absolutely ran me over. I got to where I could tackle him, but the first time, oh my God, I just felt like a truck hit me. He
Yeah.
just completely splattered me in practice,
Sure.
But yeah, so I loved it, and then but we had 3-a-days during August,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then during practice or during the fall, I remember saying we need to move practice up to 2:00. Is that going to be a problem for anybody? And everybody went around, nope. And I said, so, dipshit from Denison, I have econ at and again, this is 1988. Everybody just looked
Sure,
at me.
yeah.
2:00, and but I don't regret it. but after 2 years, I moved on.
Yeah,
And,
sure.
But it was such an awakening, and it was I remember standing in line. I'm all excited that this is 1988. I still filmed every play of every practice and all set, all around the field. And we never did that in practice. But so I'm in line, and I'm watching, and there's two guys doing a drill, and then I look again, and it's gone before I can even see what the hell I'm supposed to do. So I got out of line and went to the back of the line so I could see like 3 or 4 more. That's how it was, and that was.
That sounds like the Oklahoma drill.
That's
the old Oklahoma drill.
All of our guys were from Oklahoma too. Donnie Duncan and
exactly,
all of them, right? But it was so fast
and brutal.
Oh,
They don't do that anymore. That was causing concussions and
I had this
fights. It starts fights. That's for those who don't know about the Oklahoma drill, whole team gets in a circle. They call 2 guys in the middle, and then they get down on all fours and just start slamming their helmets, and who can get past who. Or they put a football down, and one guy's standing up, and they blow a whistle, and the guys pick football up, and the other guy's coming right at him to tackle.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It is a brutal drill.
We maybe didn't throw up every day, but
you did.
almost every day. And there were just 55-gallon drums all sitting around in the weight room and then on the track. And then we all chewed, and all the coaches chewed. So we would,
You're spitting, puking, and chewing.
on artificial turf.
Yes.
So we were infected from August till November. Everything got infected every day.
Oh, yeah.
And no one said anything. No one thought about it. No one didn't even talk about it.
No. It's just the way it was.
But it was. Now I would think about it, but back then you didn't, and God knows you didn't say anything.
Yeah, right.
It was tough.
It was tough. But when you look around, going from that to your man cave here at Roasterie, what about the building next door in the DC3, which is named Betty? That's what everybody probably wants to know about. After your mom, correct?
Yeah.
God love her. And just old Betty, the DC3 over there.
Yeah.
What was the thought? I know you collect so many things. This man cave is just incredible, but what was your thinking when you get a DC3 on top of my building?
I was fascinated. Oh, there's another, if not for this, it's just crazy small town. So I've just always been infatuated with airplanes and just loved airplanes, and then Art Deco.
Right.
Love Art Deco.
By the way, we're sitting in 2 Sikorsky helicopter chairs here.
Yeah, love these. Love anything to do with airplanes,
Yeah.
So I was thinking, gosh, I'd love to get an airplane and put it on top of the roof. And so
first you're gonna go, why?
I never even dawned. If you held a gun to my head, I couldn't even tell you why. It never dawned on me not to do that.
Okay.
In fact, there's an awning out here that looks like a DC3 that we got in our building in 1996 when we were way short of having enough money to buy a DC3. So we made it look like an awning, or a DC3, and that was our awning for 10 years. So we did 2 fun stories. So we find out that I'm getting a DC3, and we're upgrading our logo, and let's say this is the early 2000s. So we started with the DC3 because I wanted an airplane, loved that airplane, and that came from Jimmy Costa. There was a company in town called Basta Costa, and he was the one that put the airplane in there. I used to have the kind of the Art Deco design of the Kansas City Power and Light building. And Jimmy was the one that put that in. He goes, I just think air roasted, the way you roast is so unique. Nobody does that. Nobody knows what that is. So airplane air roasted. And it was a DC3, and I loved it. And then we're real involved with the symphony ever since I met Barnett in 1995 down there. And when they're building the Kaufman Center, the Kaufman Performing Arts, we're down there 20, 30 different times, and then doing tours and doing this and doing that, and we created the blend, and we did a name your seat kind of a fundraiser thing, and then the kids put their handprints on the wall, for fundraising. And then we're down there to meet your seat one time, and I had my iPad with me, and somebody said, "Oh, there's the mayor," and I go, "Honey, I gotta go," and so I run over, and I have a picture of the plane, and I said, "Mr. Mayor, I want to," he goes, "Oh, Danny," he was a Rockhurst guy, and I said, "I just love to do this." He goes, "I like that plane." So close it up, go back, and then we start trudging down to City Hall to get that done. And you can imagine the brain damage going through all that kind of stuff. I
can't imagine.
And I would just be
trying to get that passed.
Stupid. There's this expression, be smart enough to know when to be stupid, and I would always act like a dumb, like just a dipshit from Iowa. I'd say, well, I don't know, but boy, the mayor sure loves that. The mayor sure loves it. I don't know, but, well, how are we going to do, well, how would you do this? I said, I don't know, but God, the mayor just really loved it, and I liked it, and everybody likes it, and that's how that's how we ended up kind of just pushing that thing through. But the architect, Atelier Architecture, Elizabeth, she's the one that deserves the credit, because I said I don't want it stuck on there like a hot dog. I don't want to desecrate the plane in any way. And so she goes, we were doing a whole bunch of stuff, remodeling and the airplane was just kind of the icing on the cake, almost, literally. And she goes, wait, one more thing. And she took a sheet off this big mural, or what do you call it, a drawing, and it was the runway, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. That is it. And so she did created
the whole
that.
thing, right? Yeah, probably had to reinforce the roof and
all the way down.
33,000 pounds. Is that what?
Well, it only weighs 18,300 pounds.
Okay.
But the uplift forces are huge.
Okay.
So they had to go all the way down through
the downforce. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that, to go in, auger in down through the factory floor and into the ground. But before that, we opened up Leewood. The Leewood Cafe, 119th and Row, and we had a great big huge mural of not even a mural, it was actually a photograph of a DC-3. Well, one of the, somebody that I knew came in with Bob Dodson from Dodson Aviation out in Rantoul, and he had 3 or 4 DC-3s. But anyway, he saw that, he goes, I want to meet that guy. He's just like 5'0" guy, just walking around like this. And so this guy, this friend of mine, Dave, said, hey, this guy wants to meet you, and he's got a DC-3, I think. I said, oh my God, I would love to see one. So we drove out there, and I said, oh my God, it was always a dream to have a DC-3. He said, yeah, what would you do with it? And I said, just put it on a roof, just look at it, stare at it. And so I want to say a month and a half later, we owned that DC-3.
Wow.
And then and he's let me have it because he said, well, you don't want this, and I said, I want every single thing in there the same as its last flight. He goes, the radios and all this shit. I said, everything. So if you would ever look in there, every single thing, every flight control, radio, instrument is exactly as it was its last flight.
Wow. And you have another one too, correct? Or
we had
did,
one,
right?
Yeah, we did at the farm. We had a
farm,
C-47, and then we donated that to the Airline History Museum in Topeka.
Okay.
And they're going to make a spooky out of it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Do you know that plane that they created in Vietnam?
Yeah, the old plane.
They call it Puff the Magic Dragon.
Puff the Magic Dragon.
It was the most feared weapon that from the Vietnamese that we had. There was one other thing though, Frank, on the plane. Oh, maybe that was it. With had I not met Bob Dodson, we wouldn't have had a plane, and had I not,
so the one of those magic moments.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you know what? So many of them were, like I call them like tipping points, but they're magic moments, and they are all of that. Probably the vast majority of them were at charity events.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
And I don't know how it is today, because in the last 4 or 5 years, I've kind of, I'm not as involved like I was, but you said 3 or 4 times a week, but we typically, I know you did too, because I heard you many times. I can't imagine how many of those you worked and emceed.
Yeah, right.
But there were so many of them, but that was our, I met Ben and Jerry one time, and we didn't have any money. They were handing out peace pops at Notre Dame one weekend, and then I saw them in Chicago when their coffee buzz ice cream came out. They were handing out ice cream, and I thought, well, we didn't have any money, so that's where I did the coffee. We did hundreds and hundreds of thousands of free cups of coffee everywhere, but that became our marketing program. That was that was just everything that we did here in Kansas City. Hard as hell, obviously, but that's what you do when you don't have any money. But all those magic moments, most of them happen at a charity event. It's just crazy,
absolutely. So you're stepping back. I think back in 2020, you decided you really didn't call it selling. You merged with Messenger and Fairwave, right?
Yeah.
And that has basically morphed to give you more time to do what you want to do, maybe collect some more things or whatever. But so what are your thoughts? And we talked about this because you asked me, what did you do when you finally retired? Did you miss it? And I said, no, I did not miss it. And you said basically the same thing, despite the fact you're a type A personality as well. Yeah. So what was the thought at that time? Had you just sort of had enough and you wanted to ride off into the sunset a little bit and enjoy your life?
It's funny because I'm like a speed freak, so I have two, my foot is either crushing the gas or crushing the brake before I die, either or.
Guys in the service department love you.
Oh, I'm hard on, the farmers used to say, you're hard on equipment, you're hard on equipment. Oh, they would get mad. But I had coffee with Barnett 3 months ago, and we spent, oh my gosh, at least 2 or 3 hours. And he goes, so, and I'm, close to him, and kind of both knew each other's story anyway, obviously. But he goes, so with you, was it just time? And at that point, it had been 4 years. And again, I'm still in hemp, and we still see Barnett a fair amount. But I said, I've just always had this intense energy. I can still stay up all night, at least once a quarter I stay up all night. I'll drive straight through a night or something like that. I just have a lot of energy. But if it's not fun, I'm like the biggest pussy in the room. I am gone. I used to tell Sly James, I used to say I can evaporate out of a room just like you now. He could just disappear. I think, look how big he is. How does he do that? He'd be gone. And then, but I've always known that about myself. If it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like in the early 80s, you kept a job, and even back then, you kept a job for 10, 15 years.
Easy, sure.
And I had 4 jobs in 4 years, and all my brothers and sisters were just, they're mocking me. And
they're going, that doesn't look good on your resume.
No, I didn't get any kudos from anybody, but if it's not fun, I am just like a wimp. And so it became not fun, as it does for a lot of people. There's folks like, like maybe Bill Dunn Sr. and Henry Block, that it's just fun right till the end, or they still get joy. But, Barnett would always say, what got you here isn't going to be what gets you there.
Right.
And Neil Patterson was a mentor too, and he's one that went all the way through. Steve Jobs went all the way through, but Bill Gates, but they're typically, you think about almost like staying in your lane, or or a person who's plays one role or one position.
Yeah.
Well, you got to be able to, not so much.
Got to be able to go both ways here, pal.
Yeah, but not so much. Anyway, so I I never ever had aspirations to build this great big huge nationwide thing or anything like that. We were bigger than I ever thought we would be after the first couple 3 years. So it was always for fun. It needs to be fun. Even stuff here that I've done, if it's not fun, I just can't make myself do it, And it sounds wimpy, and it is wimpy, but thankfully there's enough options in this country, and you can find something that you're good at. And my old coach used to say, take what you have, work at it, and never be satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. But to your question, there became a time where it wasn't fun.
Yeah, sure.
And it just coincided with the Chiefs parade. And I knew that parade, that was must have been 19 or 20.
Yeah.
20? The Super Bowl parade.
Right.
And that was like my least fun, just for a variety of reasons. That was my least fun day in 27 years.
And you probably knew.
I knew right then.
You knew at that point, yeah. Again, another tipping point, another
Yeah.
part where, well, I think it's time to go.
Yeah,
because I'm
but
just
isn't that
not enjoying
interesting?
this. It is.
The older you get, the more you can look back. And I used to speak on campuses quite a bit, and I would say, I would tell that story or talk about that. There's the largest coffee farm in the world is Ipanema down in Brazil, 5,500 acres. The average farm of coffee in the world is 2 acres. This is 5,500 acres. And the guy, the architect was Washington. Well, when we stop, door opens, we're greeted by Washington. He designed the place, built it, and never left. And how cool is that, right?
That is pretty cool.
But think about that. I mean,
Yeah.
he was everything. There's this great big world-class place, and that was his thing. He just loved that and never did anything else,
Right.
But you don't know, and I love asking people, like when they're with their companies, how'd you get started? And then I love asking people who older people who've been married for a while how they met, and of course the
How it
woman,
lasted.
the woman tells the story infinitely better than the guy,
Yeah,
right?
and a totally different story.
But yeah, but even Henry, right? But Henry, inevitably, it's something like this, and it makes me think of Joyce Hall too. Henry said, "Well, back then we didn't have any money, so we just throw the blanket on the grass at the Nelson Atkins, Well, back then we didn't have any money. Inevitably, if you talk to older people, well, we didn't have any money, and they just get gleamy. When Hallmark turned 100 years old, early 2000s, I think, I read an article on Joyce Hall, and he said, we were lucky enough not to have any money. And so you have to figure it out. And if you have money, I mean, that's why I think, a lot of rich kids or people don't start companies, because it's almost, there's an expression, something that breeds necessity. Necessity breeds, but you really gotta, because I was talking to this group in Dallas or in Austin one time. It was when they were pitching, and I talked about all the mistakes I made and everything like that. And I said, if you start with no money, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because if you can reach in, the human condition, man, you're going to take the easy way. And if you have money, you're going to.
Yeah, just start throwing money at it.
And there's this kid, Jason was his name. He goes, I did that. He goes, I went through $83 million on a startup. He goes, I'd have gone through $183 million. Who wants to fail? And if you have the money, that's why sometimes you'll hear people say, you figure it out without any money. And inevitably the person says, no, I need money to.
Yeah, figure it out.
The person who's done this says, no, you don't. That's what you think you need. But when I met Henry one time, it was the first or second time I met him. And when when people say they want to go back to the good old days, anybody who's lived through those good old days doesn't want to go back to those good, whether you're carrying your own water or if you have an outhouse, Mark Cuban sleeping under his desk, we worked 23.5 hours was our record, but we worked 21-hour days, 20-hour days, 21-hour days, 19-hour days, forever. And when I met Henry, he goes, "Oh, well, you might not know it now. Where you're at, building it, that's the best."
Yeah.
And I wanted to go, "Oh, Henry, this is not fun. This is hard." But the longer I've come from that, or the farther from that, you know. And I think of I'm sure you in Pittsburgh too, paper routes and scooping snow. We used to knock on the door. And across the street, our neighbors, the Sherneys, if Mrs. Sherney would give me $2 or $3, and you know, I'm probably 9 or 8 or 9 or 10, and Mr. Sherney, and if he came to the door, he had his white beater shirt, you know, and I would go, because he'd go, 2 bits. And you know what 2 bits is?
Oh, yeah, 25 cents.
A quarter. And I'd be out there for 2 hours scooping for,
that's right.
for 25 cents.
And then they'd always go, well, you missed a little spot there, and you didn't get that exactly clean either.
But one time, my dad helped me, and he's like, and this stuck with me forever to this day. He started going over, he goes, I said, Dad, we don't have to do that, we don't have to do that. He goes, this is where Mrs. Sherney parks. He goes, always do more than you're asked. Always do more than you're asked. And that was probably 1967 or 8.
Sure.
And I still remember it like yesterday. And trying to teach our kids the same thing, you know.
Yeah, which I'm sure you have. And you've talked about so many of the icons here in Kansas City who helped you, okay? And obviously this show There's Just Something About Kansas City. So for you and Carla and Sophie and Terry and stuff, what is it about this town that has kept you so grounded for so long, and you decided, you know what, this is my place, this is where I should be?
You know, Frank, that's a great question, and I mean it without any hollow platitudes. It is really more of as I joked about it, but it's more of a hometown or small town than my little town in Denison, Iowa was, you know. But it means something, like made in Kansas City, made here, roasted in Kansas City. That always meant something. You know, and I could talk to anybody. There was one person, and I still have my Franklin planners from 1987 to 1999, every single one.
You are a hoarder, you realize, right?
No,
okay, all right.
I like to think
you're a little bit on the hoarding spectrum.
Collector.
I'm sorry. You're a collector.
I just threw out my papers from college. I still had every paper.
Oh, you're kidding.
I have every paper that either of our kids touched.
Oh,
every drawing,
wow.
everything. It's in that container there, and I got to get rid of them at some point. But
you won't be getting rid of them anytime soon.
But I love, you know, meaningful history. But Kansas City is, it just feels like it did, you know, where I grew up. Like everybody kind of knows everything. And I always felt, and Brookside is the quintessential symbol of this. So as God is my witness, when my dad retired about 6 months before I started the company. So after a few months, man, we were, you know, it was just about around the clock. And so he would get down here at 5 or 6 a.m. and it was a 2.5-hour drive from Iowa. Oh, wow. And he was just crazy raring to go. And so we took
because he had something to do.
Yeah, he was just so excited. So we would, I remember it being really cold. So let's say it's December, it doesn't matter. And we were coming in from taking our Chewy, our dog, for a walk. And he goes, he's a real big guy, kind of an ex-Marine, kind of like a John Wayne kind of guy. He'd go, Jesus Christ, you got to do something with these goddamn leaves. And of course, Brookside's just full of leaves, and we had a big sycamore tree. I said, it's awesome. I said, nobody cares. He goes, well, goddamn it to hell, your neighbor cares. And just Mark, who still lives next door, just as like a sitcom, was coming around the corner, and I go, you know, we're all live close together. I said, hey, Mark, do you care if we rake our leaves? He goes, I don't care. He went in the house, and my dad goes, well, God damn it to hell. But nobody cares, and I'm in a really good way. And then I think about Kansas City with that. It's almost like a symbol or metaphor for, I always said, nobody cares how much money you have in Kansas City, for the most part. But if you made your money here, boy, we cared.
Yeah.
And that's how it was in Iowa too. So if you went to Omaha or to Carroll and bought a washer or dryer or something like that, or if you got your senior pictures taken in another town, ooh. So everybody knew. So, but then it just made, you didn't have to go to college for this. It was common, intuitive sense. And it was respectful to do. It's almost like, don't forget who brought you to the dance,
exactly.
right? Mm-hmm. Of course you're going to do business with those who do business with you. Of course you are. And it wasn't, we didn't really ever have to do a cost-benefit analysis on that. It was just, I think a movie Cinema Paradiso. I mean, it was just small town. Even the theater. If we saw the movie once, Ellen Hoffman, she remembered everybody. I remember when it was a quarter and went to 50 cents. But if you paid for the movie once, you could go as many times as you went.
Oh, wow.
And she remembered if you went. That's just small town.
Sure, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And here's the same way, like you're talking about, nobody cares about the leads. They care about the neighbor. Okay,
Totally
you know
that.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
I care if you
Absolutely.
rake, I don't care if you rake your leaves, you're my neighbor.
But I had this old Airstream trailer, 31 foot, and maneuvered it up the driveway and had somebody do that for me and put it on our patio. And one winter when Terry was in his bassinet, every 2 hours feeding time, I'd go out there and I'd put him in there and I'd work through that winter, But it was in our backyard. I asked all the neighbors, and every neighbor said, no, we don't care.
Yeah, right. No HOA in those days, okay?
Right. But that's
Put the car up on blocks.
That's how Kansas City is. And I don't think, I never ever felt it like, I never thought it was to a fault. We obviously have great pride in our sports teams, in our barbecue, and how nice people are, and I think we have it where it counts. And so it was just like it was obviously bigger, but the values and everything that I felt. I could just tell you dozens of stories how I did business because I didn't know any better.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Delivering coffee in the front door of the grocery store and putting it on the shelf and walking out, and
And happy to do it.
But I mean, you can't do that, right? I mean, you have to go in the back door and they have to check you in and stuff like that.
Right.
But I didn't know that, and they were still paying the bills.
Sure they were.
Until they finally said, "Hey, you can't do that anymore.
You got to come through the back door."
Oh my God.
Which is probably just the time you start thinking about, you know what? Maybe it's time for me.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Maybe it's just time for me.
But again, I mean, think about the owner of the grocery store goes, you can't do that. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? He goes, go in the back door like everybody else. How do I know? How do I know that that coffee was put on a shelf? And you know what I said? Because I put it there.
That's right.
And he paid the bill. But think about that in Chicago or San Francisco or, oh my God, there's just 100 ways, 1,000 ways I never would have made it anywhere else. You know?
Bet. But you did make it here, and we're certainly glad you stayed.
Oh, man.
And you're a Kansas Citian through and through. And
right back at you, Frank.
Danny, you're great, and you're one of the icons in this town.
No.
I appreciate everything you've done.
I appreciate
and
you
all
too.
the
Thank you.
charitable work you guys do as well. So
Right
God
back
bless
at
you.
you.
And tell Carla and the kids we said hi. And you're one of the reasons. There's just something about Kansas City, my friend.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you.
There's Just Something About Kansas City is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization with the mission of documenting the stories that have built our city to inspire and educate generations to come. Our work is being made possible by the generous support of local partners like you. You can help us share these stories by becoming a sponsor today. Visit somethingaboutKC.org to learn more.